The last few weeks, I've had the pleasure of dwarfing my 77-inch TV in the living room with a 100-inch projector from BenQ, the latest and greatest model marketed directly at gamers. That's me, I play video games. There were a couple of shortcomings that I'd like to see revised with their next version or iteration of this projector, which awkwardly enough looks identical to a previous model called the 350. This is the 500. It's a bigger number, so you know it's more powerful, it's got more grunt. But to not waste your time and get the bluff or bottom line up front out of the way, I absolutely love this projector, and it's good to see in 2023 there is a good third option for displays when it comes to gaming if you want to get away from PC monitors and typical televisions. That's a tongue twister there. Typical televisions, monitors, TVs, and then you've got the third road, the road less traveled right in front of you, projectors. It's a road less traveled because just 5 years ago, you either had to spend $6,000 on a hefty home entertainment system to make a projector even stand side by side with TVs at the time, and it still wasn't optimal for gaming, or you had these nameless entry-level projectors on Amazon that were pretty crappy. The X500i did not fall into any of those pitfalls, and at least not in my testing, and it blew away my expectations, being able to give me a 4K 60 lag-free experience on a 100-inch display, while also being very bright and very quiet. Two things I look for in a projector. Let's get it. A quick disclaimer for my audience, the Stallions and Stallionettes, this projector was sent for review, but this is going to be an honest, comprehensive review. I haven't been paid or told to say anything about it, so if there's any cons, shortcomings, or areas of improvement, you're going to hear about it, so these companies make better products over time. And also a quick thank you to BenQ for sending this projector out to me before public launch so I could test it out and give my feedback and thoughts. This projector will be available for public purchase the 16th of this month. It's October 2023. If you want to try this projector out in person, put your actual corneas to the screen and see what it's all about, BenQ is going to be at TwitchCon at booth 220, so you can try it out. Over here on the BenQ website, not so we can glance at the sick-ass webpage design, but so we can debunk any marketing fluff and find out what makes this projector super sick. First of all, it's short throw, much like the shifter in a race car. What that means is you can put this projector pretty close to the screen you're trying to cast an image onto. For me, it was in kind of an awkward halfway point where if I wanted to set it on the bar behind me, it would have been like a 300-inch image, super big and blown out. So I ended up having to put it on the coffee table right in front of me, which isn't ideal because you're pretty close to the fan, which is pretty quiet, but still, it wasn't my ideal position, and it did take a little bit of finagling to get the image just right positioned on screen, but short throw is absolutely the way to go, and since you have that focus ring on top and also these 3 adjustable feet on the bottom, you can really adjust the pitch and plane and angle of your image and get it dialed in. Just don't expect it to be a fast process. Took me about 30 minutes. This ain't a TV, this is a projector. A little more setup for you. Now, this is heavily marketed to gamers. In fact, it's in the name, console gaming projector, and every key feature is marketed towards right here, AAA open world games in 4K HDR. That's what I did with it, and it was, I felt like this dude right here on the back of a dragon. I felt beastly. That wasn't because of the projector. I was just having a good day. Some of the key features here though, HDR tone mapping and SSI dynamic black technology. What does that mean? HDR stuff, man. High dynamic range. The blacks are going to look dark as heck. Don't expect it to be like an OLED where it's actually turning off the pixels, but it will still look nice and dark for you. Keep in mind, this is only activated in dynamic mode, which I personally would keep it in dynamic all the time, but for the purpose of the video, I did try all the modes out, but dynamic's what you want. 4 LED high brightness, vibrant hues, and 84% of the DCI P3 color space. Doesn't make any sense to me, but somebody with more projector knowledge will be nodding along because they understand it. This has spatial audio, and I didn't know what to expect. It has a built-in speaker, and every built-in speaker I've ever heard in a projector TV prior to this has been dog water. That's a fun word that we rarely use on this channel. But this thing sounded like a little sound bar. It was able to cast a pretty good stereo spread, so you have that situational awareness if enemies are off to your left or right. No verticality. You can't tell if they're on top or below you or anything like that. This ain't Escape from Tarkov with a $300 set of cans on. Console gaming in the living room, it sounded damn good. I didn't even have to use a headset or external soundbar, but if you want to use eARC, one of the HDMI ports does support that for all your soundbar needs. It's also important that the built-in speaker is loud and proud because this does make a little bit of noise with the onboard fan, and you want to be able to drown that shit out. This is a very useful charter diagram. This gives you the average cast range for all of these different size displays. I got a 100-incher, which I guess is on the small side of the house. I thought I was packing something huge, but apparently a 100-inch is on the small side of the house with projector screens. You're going to be about 4.9 to 5.9 feet. I don't know why they can't just give you an exact, hey, this is what you need to be 74 inches away, and it will perfectly fill up that 100-inch screen. You have a little bit of playroom in here. Oh, I know what it is. You have that focus ring that actually does cast the image inward and outward, so that'll be that that variation right there. I just figured it out. Also, this does have digital zoom, which I played around with, but it does tell you that for the best image quality, you want to leave it on basically not zoomed in because you're just cropping in the image digitally. Now in the game modes, RPG, SPG, and FPS, which just changes things like the brightness, contrast, color, hue, stuff like that, they're all going to be 4.16 milliseconds of input lag or delay. I didn't notice a peep of input lag. When I pressed the button, the action happened on screen, but it's got 4.8 milliseconds. For a point of reference, my LG C2 OLED TV has this many milliseconds of input lag or delay in its fastest mode, which is game mode, which it defaults to when you plug in a console. Same thing with this. It automatically recognized that I plugged in a PS5. It even labeled it as a PlayStation console and automatically put on one of the game modes. You also have that feature where you can put on a red dot or crosshair so you know where to hip fire. Just straight up gamer features. And I don't know if this is in comparison to their previous model or to the competition or just to the state of projectors, but this is what they're packing here. 12% brighter display. We'll talk about the brightness during the pro section because it is freakishly bright, even with all the blinds open. 25% bolder. That's a weird way to word that, but it just means that the colors are more vibrant-y and poppy. Vibrant. And as far as what kind of lifespan you can get out of this projector, because that's something you don't really think about if you're coming from the TV world, but there's a lifespan on this bad boy. 30,000 hours of having that screen on, as there is no lamp replacement, which used to be a huge point of failure on projectors. Here's your ports, plugs, pins, and connectors. We're going to talk about that later as I'm going to show you the I/O. This is the user interface, although it is not built into the actual projector. It does include a Google set-top box-like device that you install yourself, and that is going to give you your smart TV capability where you can launch all your streaming apps. And that stick-a-gum looking smart TV device is powered by Android, does have built-in voice controls, and actually had all the applications that I was looking for. Netflix, Max, Hulu, all etc. All the ones I was trying it out with. Amazon Prime Video, they were all there. And if you wanted to compare this to the rest of the family, the X series, this is a very useful breakdown of the differences. Definitely something to keep in mind. This is almost half the weight and less than half the size. So if you're moving this thing around a lot, or maybe you're in an apartment, this compactness is something to note. Now, we talked about the lifespan, but if and when you do have any issues with your projector, you do have 3 years of coverage with that BenQ standardized warranty. Again, that is 3 years. As far as the packaging and included accessories on BenQ's $1,700 4K gaming projector, everything is snug as a bug package sound for its travels to you. The outer box was pretty damaged in the logistic process. However, the actual product itself is mint condition, so that's good. You're going to have a BenQ Android TV Roku alternative. You are going to have a North American power plug as well as a European alternative. You are going to have this newer updated smart remote, which does have 2 AAAs included, but not installed. They will be in a separate pouch or baggie. Like a well-balanced brassiere, you're getting double support over here. You're getting support with this QR code. You can go ahead and scan it because you know you want to, and you're getting support from this one over here as well. Just realized I had the microphone in guitar input mode, so in case my voice sounded extra radical, that's why. 2 pieces of documentation. You have your regulatory statements warning you to not do kooky things with this, like choke your buddy out with the power cable or smash someone over the head with this thing because it is relatively heavy. And then you have your quick start guide. This is what I followed along with to get up and running with the product, and it is very nice as it does have picture illustrations, not color, but it will guide a dumb dummy like me to getting set up and running. I feel so robbed and taken advantage of right now. Flipping this thing around on backside, I knew it felt a little light, didn't have any power packs, any cells on board, and I double, triple, quadruple checked that box. They didn't give me shit. You're coming out of pocket for a pair of AAAs. But if you just spend $1,600 on a projector, you could probably pony up the dough for a pack of Trip Aces. And this is actually a pretty killer, although at first minorly confusing diagram of all the connections, ports, plugs, and I/O diddly bits on the back of this projector. They're showing some old ass 90s desktop speakers over here, but you don't need to take that route because with one of the HDMI ports, it's this one right here, this actually supports eARC. So your sound bars and all that good stuff will be supported. Grabbing my trusty, musty, crusty Phillips head screwdriver that's been on the channel as long as I have, we're going to shove it in this port here, and we're going to go lefty-loosey, and we're going to install our smart box. This is the packaging for the Android TV box. You are going to have the actual device itself, which is almost identical to a Fire Stick or Roku device, and you are going to have a remote for that as well, which feels very, very light, almost like it's weightless. It does have a couple of hotkeys, the best platform being right there for you. So technically you are going to have 2 remotes to juggle with this device, unless you can also control the audio of the projector. Honestly, these devices are kind of bringing up the pack. I'd say they're alongside Roku, but definitely behind something like the Amazon Fire Stick or other devices devices, something like an NVIDIA Shield. You got the baby HDMI port over here, and then micro USB, good old-fashioned micro USB 5-volt on this end, and that will plug in right here. Radical. Then the last step, it asks you to do some cable management with these clips. However, if you do that, it actually cocks this out at a weird angle, putting a lot of pressure on this HDMI port, so I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna have this cable a little bit loosey-goosey down here and wedge the cover on. You have your typical projector fanfare on the front, your zoom and focus adjustment rings on the top, IR scanner for the remote, 3 adjustable feet at the bottom. You will have some physical buttons on top, which aren't the most satisfying things to press in the world. They actually sink into the plastics pretty far and sound pretty hollow and tinny. Sounds a little toyish for a $1,700 projector, however, you're probably not going to be using these buttons nearly as much as the remote. As for the rear I/O, you have that 3.5mm aux out, an RS-232, a USB port where you can plug in an external hard drive, and 2 HDMI ports. This does say HDCP 2.2, however, that is not HDMI 2.1. That's something to keep in mind. These are still 2.0 ports. Then you also have an optical audio out and USB-C as well. Now, just cosmetically looking at this projector, I was a little bit confused because it looks almost identical to a projector that came out pretty much 2 years ago from BenQ, and that was even titled the 4K gaming projector. But this is a newer version. The model for this is the X500i, not to be confused with the X300 or previous versions that looked or appeared very similar or identical to this one, but this is the new joint with new internals. So as for the cons, pros, and verdict, we'll start with the cons, shortcomings, or limitations, because there are a few. First of all, the fact you have to install that Roku clone stick-a-gum looking ass smart TV box in the back is simply less than ideal, and I would like if there was some kind of an operating system built into the next projector, but maybe it was a strategic move on BenQ's part because they know that technology will continue to advance and maybe the operating system that they're using would get gummed up and slow over time and people can just slug in a new stick, the new version. I don't really like the modular approach with this part though. I think it should be built in. You're not going to be hot swapping this thing out every 2 or 3 years for a new stick, because at that point, probably looking at getting a new projector as well. Maybe not every 3 years. That'd be pricey quick. Bankruptcy bill over it. Secondly, it was quiet, but I would like if it was just a little bit more quiet. Yeah, it was on the verge of silent, which would be fantastic. We're approaching that with projectors in this price point. If it was a little bit quieter, since I'm personally not going to be putting this thing into a cubby or cabinet, it's basically just sitting there on my coffee table as it is a short throw. Having the fan be a little bit quieter would be nice. I will say it didn't kick off very much heat. Putting my hand over it even after a long gaming session wasn't kicking off that much heat. Next up, setup is a bit cumbersome, especially if you're using a portable or movable screen as I was. While you can dial in the position of your image, and it is a short throw, which makes it very convenient for placement, I did find it took me about 30 to 45 minutes to get the picture exactly dialed in because it was crooked. Then I had to adjust the adjustable feet at the bottom to kind of prop it up at an angle. Then I had to use the focus ring, and then I just straight up moved my screen back physically a couple of feet and finally got it dialed in the way I wanted, but it still wasn't perfect. And I understand that you're not going to get it dialed in perfect using a portable screen like that, and anyone serious about running a projector is going to have a fixed screen. However, you're going to find a lot of numbskulls like me that are just throwing up one of these projector screens and then breaking it down, and getting that image dialed in was a little bit cumbersome, took a little more time than I'd like, as opposed to some very high-end projectors that auto correct the image for you and get it dialed in. Lastly, I will say they should have changed up the cosmetics or appearance because it is so similar to the X350. The X500i looks almost identical shape and shell wise, but it can be a little bit confusing if people are just browsing from the landing page images and not actually looking at the titles. And again, the naming convention, it's also pretty similar, so it would have been nice if they at least changed the color, maybe made this one dark slate gray or something, or substantially changed up the looks, because the vent, the grill on the front, it's almost identical to the previous model. Now onto the pros, this projector got bright, freakishly bright when I opened up all my windows, turned on all my lights, things I would never intentionally do when I'm trying to create a good watching environment. In fact, on my LG TV, it creates a nasty glare if I have even my blinds cracked slightly, so I have to really draw the blackout curtains on that one. As where this projector was still bright even with all the windows open, and I wasn't getting that whitewashed, hazy, over contrasted look either. The colors were also very rich and vibrant. I did bump up the saturation and diddle with some of my color settings, making sure everything was natural and balanced, and it did look phenomenal on the 3 games I played for PS5 and the 2 games I played on the Series X. I absolutely love that the remote lights up. I wish all remotes for TVs and set-top boxes and everything did this, to where when you pressed a button, keys illuminated. That just makes it so great when you're fumbling around in the dark, because unlike a gamepad where you don't need that visual aid because you know exactly exactly where cross and triangle are. With a remote control, you've got a bajillion buttons on there. Not a bajillion, you probably got about 40 keys on there, and it's very beneficial to have lights. Another pro, both of the remotes controlled each other, so you didn't really need to diddle between both remotes because you can control the volume. Well, actually, let me caveat that. You turn the volume to 100% with the actual system control remote, then you taper back your sound inside of the TV set-top box. Smart stick, but it's a dumb design. It should be integrated built into the projector. And the biggest pro is going to roll right into the verdict, and that is the fact that this has completely changed my expectation of performance with projectors, because my goodness golly, just 3 years ago, projectors like this in this price point, they didn't exist. They didn't look like this. Let me tell you. A huge note for gaming, there was zero input lag or delay. I don't have any tools or instrumentation to measure that other than my ocular cavities, which are 20/20 vision with a super deluxe cornea magma plasma. Okay, I've got good vision. Anyway, I press the button and the action instantaneously happens. There is zero input lag or delay, because if there was any noticeable lag or delay, this would be a solid non-recommendation for any gamer. Also, I will say the visual quality was impressive. When I got close to the projector screen, as you can see from this B-roll here, there was a lot of detail. In Astro's Playroom, you can see the foliage and everything is just highly detailed. I was very impressed with this projector, but if you want to check it out yourself, they are going to be at TwitchCon in this booth, boop, popping up right here. So you can try this projector firsthand, or you can just take my word for it. It's impressive. Also, let me just say, my typical daily viewing apparatus in the living room is an LG C2 77-inch bad boy OLED TV, and 100 inches is only 23 inches larger, which you might think, it's not going to make much of a difference. It looked like it engulfed my TV. It was a completely different viewing experience. It looked massive. And since there aren't really any major compromises between using this projector and using my TV, other than the fact that I can get to 4K 120 hertz, and it is OLED, so you can get those rich, inky blacks and crazy vibrant colors, although the colors were there on the projector too, there was really no point in time where I was thinking, damn, I want to go back to my TV after this review is done. I was enjoying every second of watching and playing on that projector. It is linked in the description below, and I will see you Stallions and Stallionettes tomorrow. Peace. Oh yeah, there's an exclusive discount code for my audience down there as well. Peace. That's not the piece. There it is. Fingers don't do what the brain tells it sometimes. Some might call it a stroke. I call it a Saturday night. If you enjoyed the video, liking it helps it to get seen by more gamers. This information will reach and assist them as well, which in turn helps me grow this little channel, which I do greatly appreciate. Subscribe for more content like this. I cover news in the gaming community and industry, tutorials helping you get set up streaming and YouTubing, as well as honest gaming product reviews, keyboards, mice, headsets, controllers, mics, chairs, etc. There are some hefty exclusive discount codes found only in the description of my videos and only for the audience here at GamerHeaven. I have links to all my other platforms and socials in the description below. To get in touch with myself and the Stallions and Stallionettes of GamerHeaven, join the community Discord, and check me out at twitch.tv where I go live every other leap year on a blue moon if it falls into an odd calendar number, and my pH balance is on point. Just kidding. Starting June, I'm going to be live streaming a lot. Thanks for watching. This has been AK40 Kevin hosting GamerHeaven, and I'll see you tomorrow because I upload daily. All the time. 60% of the time. Sometimes. Most of the time. Peace.